Anything else? Do you want to share something? What do you think you would notice? Well, there's all sorts of things to notice. There's food, restaurants. There's a lot of good restaurants. Well, I'm telling you a story about a girl named Natasha Vins. She was born in the 1950s in a town called Kiev in the Ukraine. And when in 1979, she had the opportunity to come to the country for the first time. And freedom, yes. And in particular, somebody would ask her, what have you noticed? Do you notice the cars? Do you notice the grocery store? And the one thing at the top of the list for her that stood out to her was a bookstore. But not just any bookstore, a Christian bookstore. And she walked over and she saw the rows of Bibles of different colors and sizes, and she just thought, wow, this is so valuable. This is wealth right here. And that's what to when she was a little girl. She lived in the Ukraine, and back in those days, the government of that country in the whole Ukraine was under the power of the Soviet Union, and most of the people in that country were atheists. That means they didn't believe in God at all. And a lot of the rules were not really fair to Christians. And her parents believed. She was a teenager after many years of being in communist schools where they tried to tell her, oh, there's no God. She came to a crossroads in her life, and she had to make a choice for herself. All of us at one point will have to do the same thing, whether we live in a communist country or a free country. We need to choose for ourselves if we're going to follow God. And when she was 17, she had a dream. She loved reading, and she wanted to go to the university, and she wanted to study, and she wanted to translate books. That was her dream. But unfortunately, the way that the things were in that country, if you were a Christian, you really didn't have very good options. In fact, her father spent more than 8 years in prison, and he had spent more years hiding with the threat of arrest at any second. So she was pondering her life, and she thought, I really want to study this. And at the time, she thought that losing out on her dreams of an education was too high of a price to be a Christian. She was 17 at the time. And at that point, she still would hear the sermons. She kept listening. And one day she knew that she wanted to choose Christ for herself. And she did. The university was closed. And so she struggled and with her family had several difficult years. At that point,